let us proceed. Now, for the sake of those that were not in class last week, because we had a class last week, so for the sake of those that were not in class, I want to quickly rush through what we did last week before I go into today's lecture proper. Now, what we did basically last week was, firstly, we introduced zoology and botany. What is zoology and botany all about? Before we actually went into the lecture proper. Now, let me introduce what zoology and botany is um, very fast before I proceed. Now, the word zoology and botany, like we all know, zoology and botany is um, a biological course. And biology, as we all know, is the study of living things or the study of life. Bio means life. The logy means study. Now, knowing fully well that biology is a study of life, and we know that only living things possesses life. Only living things has life. And we all know that living things are classified into two, which are plants and animal. In this regard, zoology is now the study of animals, while botany is the study of plants. I believe you are all writing. I believe you're with your pen and paper and you're jotting something. And secondly, as I will be rolling down the slide one after the other, I believe it is wise enough for you to screenshot the um, the slides on your phone in case if you don't get the slide. Just screenshot it. That gives you an avenue to actually go back to this material and read. Now, quickly again, that is what zoology and botany is all about. Zoology is the study of animal, and plant and botany is the study of plants, which are the two classification or the two types of living things. Now, let us go into that was last week's lecture. Let us briefly talk about the outlines of today's lecture. I've done the introduction. We're talking about cell, organization of life, taxonomy, animal biology, but we'll be picking nutrition and reproduction. Quickly, I have done the introduction. Quickly, let me move into cell. Cell is the basic unit of life. Some people say it's the fundamental unit. Some people say it's the structural. Some people say it's the functional unit of life. But whatever you call it, cell is the basics or the fundamental unit of life. Yes, every definition I've given is correct. Now, I emphasized on that definition last week, being that if the key words, the key terms are not in the definition, then the definition becomes biologically incorrect, but grammatically correct. I repeat, if the keywords are not in the definition, now the definition becomes grammatically correct, but biologically incorrect. What do I mean? Now, the statement cell is the unit of life is correct, very correct, very, very correct. But biologically, it is wrong because now the definition of cell biologically is cell is the fundamental unit of life or cell is the basic unit of life. Now, the word fundamental and basics are actually telling you the position of cell in the unit of life. It does not come last, it does not come in the middle, it does not come second, but it is the fundamental unit of life, which means it is the foundation on which every part or every aspect of life are built. I will not be able to go further because this is just a revision for those that were not in class last week. So I will not be able to really go into cell like that. Now, as we all have part of this, part of an animal, making up the animal, like for instance, human beings, we have part of the body, the leg, the nose, the eye, and every part of the body that makes up the human being. The same we have um, different organs that also make up the cell, but we don't call them part of the cell. We call them either the component of the cell or organelles. Every component of the cell are called organelles, but in plural they are called organelles. So is either you call them components of the cells or organelles. Now, these components are what comes together to make the cell a functional living organism. It's just like we have a part of the body, we have the leg, we have the hand, we have every part of the body that comes together to form a human being. The same way we have these organelles come together to form the cell. I'll be mentioning few because of our time. We have the mitochondria, the nucleus membrane, then the plasmic reticulum, both rough and smooth. We have the chloroplast, we have the cell wall, which are for plants. We have the Golgi body. We have so many of them. But briefly, I'll mention like 2 or 3 so that at least it will refresh the brain of those that were in class last week and at least give an insight to those that were not in class last week. Now, let me start by the nucleus. The nucleus is that part of the cell which houses or which contains the genetic information of the cell. When I mean genetic information, I mean information that makes you look like your parents, the information that makes offspring look like their parents. That is the genetic information. Genes, it contains the genetic information, which when transferred makes an offspring look like the parent. The next one is the nucleus membrane, which is that thing that covers the nucleus. It just protects the nucleus from both foreign materials coming into the nucleus and from the materials within the nucleus membrane to leave the nucleus. One of the most important organelle of the cell is the mitochondria, which is the cellular respiration, which is the part of the cell where cellular respiration takes place. When I mean cellular respiration, I mean respiration, which is just one of the classification or one of the characteristics, sorry, of living things. For any living organism to continue to live, they must respire. When I mean respiration, I mean breathing in and breathing out. But please note that respiration is much more than breathing in and breathing out. So that's that about mitochondria. But it is popularly said that mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell because that is where the cellular respiration takes place. Another part of the cell which is important is the endoplasmic reticulum. The endoplasmic reticulum helps in transporting materials around the cell. Now we have the smooth and the rough. Why it is called the rough is because this part of the endoplasmic reticulum is laced by the ribosome. And what is the function of the ribosome? The ribosome synthesizes protein. Now, there are parts of the cells there are organelles that are found in the plant cells are not found in the animal cell. One of the organelles are the chloroplast. The chloroplast is the part of the cell that helps to produce the green pigment, which is called chlorophyll, that helps to trap sunlight for photosynthesis. Now, the next one is cell wall. This is the part of the cell that gives the plant its rigidity, that gives the back of the plant its rigidity. That means that toughness. It helps to protect the plant from being hurt by animals. Now, moving to the next slide. Now, I briefly talked about organization of life because I want to round up this revision. Organization of life is life from the simplest form to its complex form. Now, as you can see, the screen showing on your phone or on your system, whichever one you're viewing with. Now, the systematic arrangement of this life has been arranged from organelles to cell to tissue to organ to system to organism. Now, please note that in most textbooks or when you're reading more, when you're doing more research, you might not find the word organelle, or you might not find the organ. You might not find the component of the cell or the word organelle in the organization of life in most textbooks, because scientists believe that life actually starts from cell, that organelles are non-living on their own. Let me explain. Now, if the human here, I mean the air now, EAR, the air, is cut off from the body, it becomes non-living at that point. If the hand is off the body, it becomes non-living at that point. That means the part of the body cannot stay on its own living, except if it is within the body. The same as every organelle in the cell, they cannot stay on their own as living organism. A mitochondria on its own is not living. The nucleus on its own is not living except if it is found within the cell. So in most textbooks, you would not see organelles, but the organization of life starts from cell. As we all know, cell is the fundamental, the basic, or the structural, the functional unit of life. We know that. Now, tissue is a combination of two or more cells coming together to form tissue. Two or more cells of the same function coming together to form tissue. Now, a tissue is an organ now is when you have two or more tissues coming together. While a system is when you have two or more organs coming together to perform a particular function. Example of the organ is the liver, the kidney, the lungs, and the rest. Now, the system is when you have two or more organs coming together. Now, example is the excretory system, the digestive system, the reproductive system. Now, in the excretory system, you have the kidney, the liver, and the rest coming together to perform the function of an excretory system. The same as reproductive and the same as and every other systems in the body. It is this system that now comes together to form an organism. We have the respiratory system, the excretory system, the digestive system, and every other system. All the system comes together to form what is called an organism. I hope you're following. Now, that being said, we'll move to taxonomy. Taxonomy is just simply the act, or let me say the scientific act of naming an organism. That is what taxation is all about. The scientific act of naming an organism. That is what taxation is all about. Now, let me give an example. Now, I'm using human being as an example, modern human, because we have different species of human being. But I'm using modern human, which is us today, as an example. Now, before I go into that, now there are something in taxonomy we call something taxon. Taxons are groups of similar characteristics. Taxons are when you group animal into similar characteristics. And as you can see the slide on your screen, we have kingdom, we have phylum, we have order, we have class, we have family, we have genus, we have species. Now, each of these are taxons. Each of these are taxons from kingdom to species. Now, from kingdom to species, you have a decrease in the number of animals. Now, in kingdom, we have five. Kingdom can be classified into five. We have Animalia, which is the animal. We have Plantia, which is the plant. We have the Monera, the fungi, and the bacteria. Now, using human being as an example, we all know that we belong to the kingdom animal. We belong to the animal kingdom. So scientifically, we call it Animalia. Now, coming to kingdom. Now, if you say animal, a lot of if you say animal, all organisms except plants will answer. But scientists now grouped animal into boning and non-boning structure. They group animal into animals that have bone and those that don't have bone. So they call those that have bone vertebrate, and they call those that does not have bone invertebrate. So, and we as humans belong to that group called vertebrate. So we call scientifically we call it vertebrata. Now, for the order, they now continue to group organism, because even grouping animal as vertebrate and invertebrate, you still have some animals that are not human but fall into the category of vertebrate. So they look for characteristics that human beings have in common to subdivide them, to differentiate them from other vertebrates. So they divide them into with these characteristics: animals that breastfeed their young ones, animals that give birth to their young ones' life, and animals that have fur, which is hair on their body. And they call this group of animal mammals, which scientifically it is known as mammalia. I hope we are all following. Please, Yusuf Abibat Olamide, please unmute yourself. If you can hear me, please let me know you can hear me, so that I won't be talking to myself. Please unmute yourself. Let me know if you can hear me. Yusuf Abibat Olamide, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, thank you. Now, moving to the next one is the class, which is the next taxon. Now, they now group, they further subdivide the groupings into animals that has digits, I mean fingers and toes, and animals that can walk on their foot. So they call them primates. Now, in this category, we have apes, we have gorilla, we have chimpanzee, and the rest. But we also fall into that category. So they call it primate. Coming to the family, the family is called Hominidae. Hominidae is just a general name that is given to human beings. It is not uh, due to any classification. Like you have apes for gorilla family, like you have pieces for fishes, you have apes for birds. Yes, we have Hominidae for human being. Now, genus and species. I used to tell my students that genus can also be known as surname, while the species, the first name. So the genus for human is the Homo, while the species for modern human is the sapien. So when you want to call a human being by its botanical or its scientific name, you call it Homo sapien. I will not be able to elaborate more on this. I would have loved to give a practical example of this, but just because of our time, I cannot go further, because this is just a recap of last class, because I know most people did not attend the last class. And also, in just 2 minutes or 3 minutes, I want to discuss nutrition. Nutrition deals with the intake of food, the digestion of the food until it is excreted as waste product. Now, we have two types of nutrition. We have the autotroph and the heterotroph type of nutrition. Okay. Okay, I'm not too sure I took this last week. Please, Yusuf, Abibat, Olamide, were you in class last week? Hello? Please unmute yourself, Yusuf, Abibat, Olamide. Were you in class last week?
Yes, sir.
Did I take nutrition and reproduction?
No.
I did not. Okay, I stopped at taxonomy, right?
Yes.
All right. I'll be taking nutrition and reproduction later this class. So if you don't have the assignment for last week, and for those that say they don't know where to send the email to, this is the assignment. I'm giving you just 10 seconds to screenshot it, and that is the email to which you should send the assignment. So please screenshot it now, and please, I don't want anybody calling me for we did not get the email to submit the assignment. Okay, all that said and done, let us move to today's class in proper. All right. Now, welcome to the second online class for zoology and botany 1. You already know my name, so I don't need to introduce myself again. Today we'll be talking about ecology and nutrition. I'll be taking ecology first, and I'll be going into nutrition later. I'll be as fast as possible. Sorry, it's because of the time. Now, ecology. Now, if you were actually following me in the revision I did, I told you that biology is a word that has two words in it. We have the bio and we have the logy. The bio means life, the logy means study. So the same thing applicable to ecology. Now you should know that ecology is a study of something, even if you don't know what that thing is. But for the fact that it has logy in it, you should know that it is the study of something. Now, quick and very quick, I want to, okay, now eco means can also be referred to as just a way of referring to the environment, not economy now. Like when you want to write the economy, you write econs. It's not eco. That one is econs. Now, when you refer to as eco, you're referring to the environment. That's why you have eco-friendly. That means the friendly environment. Now, what is ecology? Ecology is the study of the ecosystem. Now, but if you give me the definition that ecology is the study of the ecosystem, I'll give you 0/5 if it is over 5. Now, I need you to actually tell me what the ecosystem is, even for the fact that you're telling me that ecology is the study of the ecosystem. Now, what is an ecosystem? An ecosystem is a biological community of living organisms interacting. Oh, sorry, let me rephrase it better. Ecology is a biological community of interacting organisms and their environment. I take it again in case if you're writing. Ecology is the ecosystem is the biological community of interacting organisms and their environment. That is the definition of an ecosystem. Now, coming back to ecology and putting ecology into ecosystem, ecology is just or is defined as the study of the ecosystem, which is ecology is the study of interacting organisms and their environment. You can see that I have removed the ecosystem and I have incorporated the definition of the ecosystem. Now, I repeat, ecology is defined as the study of interacting organisms and their environment. You can decide to use your own English. Like this is another definition of ecology, but still means the same thing. I am just trying to tell you that ecology can be defined in different forms, in different ways, but still means the same thing. Now, ecology, now this is saying ecology is a branch of biology concerning interaction among organisms, which means the same thing as interacting organism in my previous definition and their biophysical environment. You can see that is the same thing. Now, having said that and having known what what ecology means, let us quickly move to the component of ecology. Now, the component of ecology simply means what are those things that makes up the ecosystem. What are those things that makes up the ecosystem? The first one is the biotic factor. From the word biotic, from the word bio, we know it means living. So biotic factors are the living factors of the ecosystem. They are the living factors of the ecosystem. Examples are the bacteria, animals, birds, fungi, plants, and everything that has life in an ecosystem. I repeat, biotic factors are those parts of the ecosystem that have life. Those are the living factors of the ecosystem. And anywhere you see a coming before a word, anywhere you see a as a prefix in a word, means the opposite of the word. So since biotic factor is the living factors of the ecosystem, the name biotic factor is definitely the non-living. Examples are the sunlight, the soil, the air, the food, and everything that has no life. Now, types of ecology. Now, we have different types of ecology. We have global ecology, we have landscape ecology, we have ecosystem ecology, we have community ecology, we have population ecology, we have organismal ecology. But in this, for this course, we'll be talking about the ecosystem ecology, which was what I introduced earlier, which was what I defined earlier. So to briefly tell you what this types of ecology means, please you can quickly screenshot this page because I really don't have much time and I still need to touch nutrition before we end the class. So I'll give you like 10 seconds to screenshot. Global ecology is simple, has to do with the ecology of the earth. When you say something is global, the global ecology, something that it talks about a very vast community, a very vast community of continents, countries coming together. Yes, that is what you mean. Landscape has to do with the role of human impact on the landscape and the rest. Ecosystem ecology, which we are dealing with today. Community has to do with the how the community changes the structure of the ecosystem. Population, which you all know is the total number of species of organisms that are in a habitat or a community. So how do this population relate to ecology? And organism has to do with the study of an individual organism behavior to the ecosystem. So this, I want to believe you have done, you have screenshotted this slide, and I'll be moving to the next slide. Now, we have concept of the ecosystem. Concept of the ecosystem are just those things that makes up the ecosystem. Those things that makes up the ecosystem. That is what is referred to as concept of the ecosystem. Now, now, the first one is lithosphere. The first one is lithosphere. What do you understand by the word lithosphere? Lithosphere is the rigid part of the earth's crust, the rigid portion, the solid part, the part you can match, the part you can feel. That is what is known as the lithosphere. Litho is earth. Why that sphere means when you say this when you talk about the sphere now you're referring to the earth. So the lithosphere is that rigid part, the solid part of the earth. The hydrosphere is the liquid part of the earth. We have the water bodies, the oceans, the rivers, the seas, and the rest, the lacustrine and the rest. Those are the hydrosphere. Now, the biosphere is the gaseous part of the earth, where you have the atmosphere. The biosphere is the living part of the earth. Sorry, the biosphere is the living part. That is the part of the earth that supports life. That is what the biosphere is. The atmosphere is the gaseous part. The habitat is the natural dwelling place of an organism. The community is when you have organisms come together, or different species of organism coming together. The community is larger than an habitat. An habitat is just where an organism stays, but community is where you have more, one, two, three, four, five, and so on habitat coming together. Coming together, it makes it a community. Population is the total number of organisms that are found in an ecosystem or in an habitat. Why, which the last one, which is ecosystem, which I've defined earlier, is the biological community of interacting organisms and their environment. Now, what is the importance of ecology? Why ecology? Why are we talking about ecology? At least there must be a reason why we talk about ecology. The first one is the conservation of environment. Ecology helps us to understand how our action affects the environment. It shows the individual the extent of damage we cause to the environment. Lack of understanding of ecology has led to the degradation of land and environment. It has also led to the extinction and the endangerment of certain species. Examples are dinosaurs. So if we have the knowledge of ecology, we know how to conserve our environment so that some particular species of plant and animal does not go into extinction. The next one is resource allocation, allocation of resources. With the knowledge of ecology, we are able to know which resources are necessary for the survival of different organisms. Lack of ecological knowledge had led to scarcity and deprivation of these resources, leading to competition. Now, the next one is energy conservation. Now, energy conservation. With the knowledge of ecology, we are able to know which resources are necessary for the survival of different organisms. Eco-friendly. Okay, eco-friendly now. Ecology encourages harmonious living within the species and adaptation of a lifestyle to protect the living, um, the ecology of life. Now, ecology tells us how to interact with the environment so that in the environment will in return be friendly to us. That is what eco-friendly means. And with that, we come to the end of ecology. And very, very fast, let us move to nutrition. And after that, we'll be giving our assignment, and that will be the end of the class. Now, like I said earlier, before I realized that ecology was not mentioned in the last class. Now, sorry, I mean nutrition was not mentioned in the last class. Now, nutrition basically entails or deals with food intake, how the food is being digested, and to the level of the food that has been eaten becoming a waste product. Now, I repeat, nutrition entails intake of food, the breaking down of the food, which is digestion, the assimilation and absorption of the food by the body, and to the level of the food getting to the large intestine as waste, being ready to be passed out as a waste product. That is what ecology is all about. So let me read what I have on my slide. Nutrition is a science that interprets the nutrients and other substances in food in relation to maintenance, growth, reproduction, health, and disease of an animal. It includes food intake, absorption, assimilation, biosynthesis, metabolism, and excretion. I didn't even know that was there. Now, nutrition is important for every organism because it is this part of the classification, the characteristics of organism that gives animal the ability to continue to live healthily. Now, I'm very sure we are familiar with the characteristics of food, from carbohydrate, protein, fat and oil, minerals, and the rest till it gets to water. Now, all this has to be taken in the right proportion. The syllabus does not tell us to go into digestion. I would have dabbled into digestion so that at least we'll understand how this food, how the nutrients in this food we eat are being absorbed and assimilated to the body, and the usefulness of this food to the body. But it is important to know that nutrition includes food intake, the absorption, the assimilation, the biosynthesis, the catabolism, and the excretion. Catabolism makes breaking down. Absorption and assimilation are almost the same thing. It means the body being able to absorb the nutrient in the food. Biosynthesis is the biological breakdown of the food. Why excretion is when it has been passed out. Now, with the few minutes I have about 3 minutes to go. Now, nutrition is classified into two. We have the autotrophic mode of nutrition and the heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Now, organisms that undergo autotrophic mode of nutrition are called autotrophs, while the ones that undergo heterotrophic mode of nutrition are called heterotrophs. Now, under autotrophic mode of nutrition, we have photosynthesis and chemosynthesis. We all know what photosynthesis is. That is when plants manufacture their food with the aid of sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water. We are under photosynthesis, we have the dark reaction and the light reaction. Chemosynthesis, on the other hand, is excuse me, is organisms that undergo chemosynthesis are organisms that don't have access to sunlight and they have to synthesize their food themselves. Like I said, autotrophic mode of nutrition is a mode of nutrition where organisms produce or synthesize their food themselves. So chemosynthesis organisms don't have access to sunlight. So they find themselves a place where they can absorb heat. Now, Most of these organisms are actually organisms that live in the bottom of in the ocean floor where there is no light. So they find themselves close to area where there is heat. So it is this heat that they use in place of light for energy to produce their own food. Now, because of time, I will not be able to deliberate on that much. Now, coming to heterotrophic mode of nutrition, heterotrophic mode of nutrition is the mode of nutrition where organisms depend on autotrophs, which are plants, and other organisms for food. Example is mine. Now, this can also be classified into three. We have holozoic, which is organisms that feed on other organisms. Under this, we have the carnivores, the omnivore, and the herbivores. Now, under saprophytic, these are organisms that feed on decay organic matter. We have bacteria. And parasitism, which are organisms that feed on other organisms. They call them parasites. We have lice, tick, worms. So I have just a minute more. Let me quickly rush to the assignment. Please screenshot these assignments. Screenshot the assignment and please add this in not less than 2 pages. Discuss nutrition. So nutrition. I expect you to say everything I have said here and here. So I believe you should have more than 2 pages. I believe you must have more than 2 pages. I would not be able to take questions now. Probably by next class, I will be able to take lecture. So please, I will be able to take question. So please screenshot this. Number one is write elaborately on nutrition. Okay, okay. I think this is my number one question already. Let me include this in not less than 2 pages. Write elaborately on nutrition. Thank you for attending the class. My name remains Yomi. Please do have a wonderful day ahead. Please be safe, wash your hands, use sanitizer, avoid your hands going to your face. And please, God bless everybody and God bless Nigeria. Thank you and bye-bye.